The story begins with Wataru, a high school student who is in love with his classmate, Aika. He tells Aika every day that he loves her, but she doesn't feel the same way about him. One day, Aika gets tired of it and asks Wataru to stay away from her. This hurts Wataru, and he decides not to bother Aika anymore. When Wataru comes to class, he starts to ignore Aika. Aika and her friend Ashida are surprised by this change. Even the teacher finds it odd because Wataru used to follow Aika around all the time. Outside of class, Wataru encounters Aika, who is angry with him for following her. However, Wataru ignores her and goes to the bathroom. This confuses all the other students. In the bathroom, Wataru's friends ask him why he's acting differently, but even he doesn't know why he's behaving this way. During lunch break, Aika tries to talk to Wataru, but he ignores her and goes outside to eat. When Wataru returns after eating, a girl named Rina approaches him and expresses her desire to be friends. Aika sees Wataru talking to Rina and becomes upset, deciding to leave. Later, Rina visits Wataru in his classroom and speaks affectionately to him. Aika doesn't like this, so Ashida starts talking critically about Rina's ex-boyfriend in front of Wataru and Aika. This upsets Rina, and she leaves. The following day, Aika and Ashida see Rina with her boyfriend, assuming that Rina has also rejected Wataru. Aika feels sorry for Wataru, but when she tells him, he doesn't seem upset at all. Aika is puzzled by Wataru's behavior and decides to visit his house in the evening to talk to him. During their meeting, Aika feels uncomfortable sitting alone with Wataru. She complains to Wataru about how he has stopped pursuing her, and she doesn't understand why. In response, Wataru asks her to go on a date with him, to which Aika immediately declined. Wataru admits that he's come to realize it's not right for him to chase after Aika. His sister, who had been listening in, enters the room. Unable to finish his thoughts, they both step outside. Out there, Aika presses Wataru to explain further. Wataru confesses that he recognizes his mistake and won't bother her anymore. Surprisingly, he asks Aika for help in finding a girlfriend for himself. Aika is deeply hurt by this, and while she's tempted to lash out at Wataru in anger, she refrains and runs away, shouting. The next day, there's a rearrangement of seats in the classroom, and Wataru and Aika end up seated apart. Wataru realizes that his repeated advances have prevented Aika from making friends in class. He begins to think of a way to help her. On the following morning, on their way to school, Wataru and Aika encounter each other. Aika wants to say something to Wataru but can't find the words. Upon reaching school, Ashida informs them that Rin, the chair of the discipline committee, is waiting for Wataru in the classroom. Rin instructs Wataru to meet her in her office and then departs. Afterward, Wataru returns to class. Ashida calls him inside and points out that Aika has made many friends since he distanced himself. Wataru realizes that being apart from Aika has allowed her to make many friends. Later, Aika's friends make plans to visit her house and meet her younger sister. Ashida suggests that Wataru should join him, but Aika warns him to stay away from her younger sister, which leaves Wataru feeling disheartened. As school ends, Wataru starts heading home. Aika follows him and urges him to go home with her, but Rin interrupts their conversation. Aika is unable to express her feelings to Wataru. The next day, while Ashida is looking at a photo of Aika, she notices the sadness in Aika's face. Ashida encourages Wataru to talk to Aika, but he chooses to keep his distance from her so that other students can befriend Aika. Aika also wants to talk to Wataru but finds herself unable to do so. During lunch break, Wataru is engaged in conversation with some girls from his class. Aika becomes upset and forcefully pulls Wataru away from him, leading him to an empty classroom. Even after pondering, Wataru can't grasp why Aika is angry. Aika approaches him angrily and explains that her frustration stems from him talking to those girls. Before Wataru can fully comprehend her words, Aika warns him not to misinterpret her and exits the room. Wataru tries to make sense of Aika's perplexing behavior in the classroom but remains baffled. A student council member arrives to escort Wataru, leading him to his sister. Aika and Ashida follow Wataru. Upon reaching his sister, Wataru accuses her of always speaking negatively about him. This prompts Aika to become angry and insist that Wataru apologize to his sister. Wataru inquires about why Aika was following him, but Aika herself can't articulate a reason and dashes away. Wataru remains perplexed by Aika's actions, prompting his sister to call him an idiot before leaving. The next day, Aika and Ashida meet up at a restaurant. Aika confides in Ashida, admitting that she doesn't understand her recent behavior. Ashida explains to Aika that she's acting strangely because Wataru has stopped pursuing her, and she wants his attention. Aika agrees with Ashida's assessment. Ashida advises Aika to express her love quickly before Wataru gets interested in someone else. The following day, Aika begins approaching Wataru to talk to him, but he leaves the classroom. When Wataru returns to class, he sees Aika talking to another boy. Seeing them talking, Wataru believes that Aika might also have feelings for him. The teacher hands Wataru Aika's books to return, but since Aika is still talking to another boy, he gives the books to Ashida. Wataru then watches as Aika goes home with that boy, which makes him feel sad. As Wataru is taking off his shoes to leave for home, Aika approaches him. She explains that she's come to collect some of her belongings from the classroom and they both go there. Aika wants to express her love, but her nervousness prevents her from saying anything. They both leave the classroom together. Wataru then asks Aika which hair color would look good on him. Aika recalls that she initially talked to Wataru because he had brown hair. Hearing this, Wataru decides to dye his hair brown. On a rainy day, Aika and Wataru run into each other while heading to school. Wataru initially ignores Aika and keeps walking ahead. However, he notices a truck coming and rushes to protect Aika's dress from getting wet. In the process, Wataru gets soaked and catches a cold. To express her gratitude, Aika gives Wataru her handkerchief. Unfortunately, Wataru's condition worsens, and he faints due to weakness. Concerned, Aika and Ashida take him to the infirmary. Even after returning to class, Aika can't stop thinking about Wataru. When the class ends, they both go to check on Wataru. Suddenly, Wataru gets a headache, and while Aika worries and approaches him, Wataru tells her not to come any closer. He fears that Aika might also fall ill if she touches him. Rin and Wataru's sister then arrive. Rin starts taking care of Wataru, which makes Aika uncomfortable. The next day, both Aika and Ashida visit Wataru's house to check on him, with Ashida explaining that Aika insisted on coming along. Aika expresses her concern, believing that Wataru fell ill because of her, so she visits him. The following day, a girl named Marika asks Aika for help in distributing her posters for the student council elections. When Wataru comments that Aika is cuter than Marika and that people would vote for her, Marika gets upset and leaves. Aika's face turns red upon hearing Wataru praise her after a long time, and she runs away in shyness. On another day, Aika finds Wataru standing outside the classroom. She notices Wataru's hair isn't in place, so she starts fixing it. As she realizes Wataru is close, she shyly moves away from him. Summer vacation approaches, and Aika and another student are chosen to clean the classroom. However, that boy relinquishes the responsibility to spend time alone with Aika. Surprisingly, Wataru doesn't seem bothered by the prospect of them spending time together during the holidays. During the break, Wataru starts working in a bookshop. One day, he witnesses 3 boys harassing a young boy and steps in to protect him. After the boys leave, the boy's older sister, Sasaki, arrives. Wataru is captivated by her beauty and can't stop thinking about her even after returning home. The story continues with Sasaki visiting Wataru at his shop again. Wataru showers her with praise, leaving a good impression on her. When Sasaki's father comes to call her, she asks if she can visit Wataru again. Wataru agrees, making Sasaki happy, and she gives him a gift before departing. So friends, in the first part of the story, 2 girls have entered Wataru's life. One with whom Wataru loved earlier and the other with whom Wataru is now falling in love. Aika is also realizing her love for Wataru, and it seems Sasaki also likes Wataru. So to whom among these 2 will Wataru express his love, or will a third girl come into his life? We will know all this in the second part of the story. Before leaving, do not forget to like and share the video. Thank you for watching the video.